Y'all ready? It's time to talk ball with Spunky Spectrum. Let's ride! Ow. Woke up in the morning, coffee in my hand, another season about to start. I'm the fantasy man, scouting sleepers, crunching numbers late at night, building rosters that gon' shine under them lights. From rookie watch to big revenge, I see it all, stacking points while the league's watching me ball. Best ball drafting, no waivers, just pure skill. I'm taking shots, watch the whole league getting killed. Yeah, the grind don't stop, the picks stay high. When the money's on the line, I connect the dots. We're talking fantasy football, best ball drafting deep. Spunky Spectrum spinning, put a league to sleep. 15 grand on DraftKings, cashed it like a king. Now the whole damn country know I run this thing. Yeehaw, raise them up, another W in the books. Fantasy king, got the trophies and the looks. From the podcast mic to the big check in my hand, this is Spunky Spectrum boys, the fantasy man.
Yo, Big D here talking all things England, rolling to a second win over Mexico. Driving Tough Production, Spunky Spectrum Sports. Sorry, I think my heart is about 7,300 beats right now. It's 11:20 here in Southwest Florida, and holy cow! I think the fireworks went under the pitch down in Azteca because we saw the World Cup's most memorable game this summer, and by golly, maybe the one of the craziest games Azteca I've ever seen. England winning 3-2 over Mexico. Game started late because of weather, and game ended late because there were more highlights than a Hollywood soap opera. But England doing something that no team has done at this tournament. A, scoring against Mexico. B, scoring 3 goals against Mexico and doing something that literally nobody does, winning at Azteca. I mean, Azteca is like, if England's home is Wembley, but then Azteca is Wembley on steroids at altitude. It's like at 7,000 feet, probably the toughest place. If Mexico could have picked any venue in the world for round of 16 against England, Azteca would have been the only place. And honestly, coming in this game, I think there were questions. How would England fare against in the altitude? How would Mexico do against England? Would Harry Kane, Drew Bellingham be able to do damage? How would Mexico be able to continue clean sheets against a great force? Well, we got all answers and then some tonight. I must say, in Azteca's 60-plus year history, I don't think there was a crazier, more chaotic game. Red cards, goals, controversy. See plenty of stoppage time, and you know what? I think we need a hydration break right now. But I think England overall did just enough, particularly after the red card, and we'll talk about it. First half, really, I thought Mexico started on the front for a couple moments, couple big saves to Jordan Pickford. I think Declan Rice picked up a yellow card early in the game, like first 5 minutes. Really, Pickford was the stall. But then the game changed about the 34th, 35th, 36th minute. Pickford got a quick throw, and then he found Declan Rice, who passed to Saka, and then Saka finds Jude Bellingham, putting England ahead 1-0. No. And I'm telling you, I think the whole crew was shocked because England haven't really gone forward, and then all of a sudden Saka finds Bellingham with his right foot. Saka's a left-footed player, and Saka finds Bellingham, putting England ahead 1-0. And it's like, well, the fireworks starting. Oh yeah. literally a minute or two later, Harry Kane, Gordon Bellingham, back to Harry Kane, who then passed it to Jude Bellingham, and he makes it 2-0. And then all of a sudden, it's like, do you love us? Well, I love you tonight because you made all the fireworks, mate. It's 4:30 in the morning in your neck of the woods, and I don't think anybody's going to sleep in London, Liverpool, Manchester. Heck, I don't think people are going to sleep in Mexico tonight, whether you're watching Guadalajara or Mexico City. But I had 2-0 from nowhere, and it looked like I'm talking about the England 3 World Cup win over Mexico. And by the way, Mexico needed a goal, and then Quinones, who was Mexico's most dynamic player and goal scorer, put him one up 2-1. I mean, I'm not sure. England defense gave up some moments. I mean, Quinones played really, really well and got 2-1. Great volley. Then it looked like I think Quinones scored his fourth goal of the turn. And then it looked like Mexico got a second. I mean, Pickford made a couple big saves. That was a moment. I think England got a clearance. So it's just crazy how that first half went all of a sudden from nothing to goals, clearance, and saves, and all of a sudden England went into halftime 2-1. Then the second half, think the game's going to calm down. Nope. 52nd minute, Joel Conza comes in, studs showing on the Mexican player. Originally, the referee didn't call anything. What is my favorite call? McLaren or Camaro. And after tonight, I think Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane might get McLaren's, but we'll see. Joel Conza comes in, studs up on the Mexican player. Originally, the referee doesn't call anything, but then VAR comes into play and says, hey, referee, you need to go look at it. So the referee looks at it and sees, oh, wait, that studs up, sets the force, danger. This play, so Kwanzaa's sent off. Kwanzaa became the fourth Englishman sent off. Wilkins 1986, David Beckham 1998, and Wayne Rooney 2006. And anytime England goes down to 10 men, it's like, oh no, here we go again. Because Kwanzaa was really a questionable player to whether he would start. He started one of the earlier games, didn't look right, so he ended up getting another game, and now Kwanzaa's sent off and maybe spend more than one game. We'll see. But I don't know, but I don't think England will get that suspension reduced like the U.S. got Flo Balogun, but we'll see. So England ended up going down 10 men. So Tom Tuchel made almost an immediate substitution, bringing in John Stones for Bukayo Saka. Saka, who produced the first assist, really more or less sacrifice. Stones went in the center back, while Konza, who was at right back, played a center back and went to play right back. And then literally a minute or two later, Anthony Gordon somehow free on the goalie, brought down by Rangel, and the referee gave a penalty. And I mean, it was a certain penalty, dumb foul by the Mexican goalie. I mean, And so England got a penalty, and Harry Kane does what he has done more than any other Englishman in the World Cup, that's score. So he made it 2-1, 3-1, excuse me. Then Mexico brought on Santiago Jimenez, Brian Gutierrez, and then later, Harry Kane ended up going underneath a Mexican player, and VAR ended up ruling a foul on Kane and Mexico getting a penalty, only a la what Luka Modric did the first game against England itself, where he committed a foul and England ended up getting a penalty. And so I think Mark Gahey got a yellow for dissent. I mean, there were questions whether or not Harry Kane was the one who had received the yellow, but was Gahey who picked up the yellow. Then Raul Jimenez stutters and scores. So now it's 3-2. Then I think Jorge Sanchez and Nico O'Reilly picked up the yellow card. So then the second half hydration break came. England brought on Spence and Dan Burn. So Dan Burn was, to a lot of people, and myself included, a very controversial pick. He's a he's a big guy, a big 6'7", but he's not really a left back, more center back. And then Spence was brought on for Nico Riley. I think Byrne replaced Elliot Anderson, so he ended up going with more or less a back five, or maybe a back nine, but who knows? And Spence ended up placing Nico Riley, and then Spence went to play left back. So England went back five. And I thought those scenes were a little too defensive. Turned out, Dan Burn made a huge difference in this game because Dan Burn won a lot of crosses, and at that point, England didn't need to score. They needed to keep Mexico from scoring, and with 10 men, we've seen teams win with 10 men. The U.S. against Bosnia and Herzegovina, Paraguay against Turkey. Defend, making hard. And for whatever reason, Mexico just kept crossing the ball, and England dealt with most loose balls in and around the penalty area. Oh yeah. And you want to know why? Guess what? John Stones was the perfect guy to bring on because he's played in big games. He played in Manchester derbies, Merseyside derbies, World Cups. I think this is his 13th, 14th World Cup game. So John Stones has been in everything. Dan Burn was a big player, huge player, but the perfect player to bring on because he would win headers. With going back five, Mexico just kept crossing everything into the box, and England kept on winning headers, and for whatever, Mexico were willing and more or less unable to defeat the English defense. I think Pickford ended up making a couple saves, one near moment where I think Stones clear. I think Gay ended up winning then right, I don't know if it was just before or right at the start of stoppage time, Morgan Rogers ended up replacing Harry Kane. At that point, I think England needs somebody who can run, somebody who could defend, rally. Chris, I think USA will win tomorrow versus Belgium. I like the way you're thinking, Rally, Chris, because you know what? I hope Belgium. I'm glad we have Flo Balogun, and you know what? if Azteca's Mexico's home, I think Seattle's USA's home. We'll see if that's true this time tomorrow. More. And then the big question from the referee, because there were so many stoppages, there were multiple VAR checks, there was a red card, penalties, the hydration break, multiple subs. How many minutes will that be? 3, 7, 8, 10? No, 11. And I bet you if you were England, then it's like, oh boy. And I bet you in Mexico, it's like, let's go. And then, Jude Bellingham was everywhere tonight. Not just scoring, but defending, going forward. I don't think I've seen Jude Bellingham play a better game than that, maybe in his career. Jude Bellingham really wasn't himself for Real Madrid, but tonight, I think Jude Bellingham showed what he's capable of doing. I bet you Jude was absolutely shattered. And honestly, in a way, frankly, defending, Mexico didn't really create enough opportunities. And, England did just enough. Winning enough headers, but more importantly, keeping Mexico from having glorious looks. I think there were a couple moments in stoppage time of Johan Vasquez and Jordan Henderson. Henderson wasn't even on the pitch, but he ended up getting a yellow. Not that it matters, but I think England showed in this game that's huge. Bellingham will play them off, getting the run last. Well, if he can keep his head on straight, I think you're right. But I think what England showed in this game is a different way to win. Not just play beautiful football, because this game was crazy. Both teams played beautiful football. England countered, Mexico really be on the front foot early. But I think what England showed, maybe a little like France, that was a different situation, the ability to grind out a result. And Thomas Tuchel, there were a lot of considerations, not just from my friends, the media, but from everyone in England wondering, why is Dan Burn in this team? Why is Spence in this team? Where are Cole Palmer? Where are Phil Foden? Where's Morgan? Where's Gibbs Wright or Trent Alexander? Well, Thomas Tuchel could go to the British media tonight and say, hold my beer, we won at Azteca. We did what England couldn't do in 1986. We went to the same stadium where we lost the quarterfinal in 70, the quarterfinal in 86 with that hand of God moment. And I think in many ways, this may not have been England's prettiest game, but this was England's finest performance since winning the World Cup in 1966. Right now, in the most hostile atmosphere these men will play in their whole career, and beat a team on enemy terrain. And frankly, I think Mexico will be kicking itself for giving up that third goal immediately after the red card. Because Mexico were in control. Up a man, crowd into it. That third goal gave England just enough fight, just enough belief, and just enough energy to get through the game. And I think Thomas Tuchel made the right subs at the right time. He didn't wait. At altitude, teams can outwait. Basically, he didn't wait. Basically, red card, boom. John Stones. Hydration break, boom. I need to make 2 more defense subs. bring in Morgan Rogers. Thomas Tuchel made the right. Thomas Tuchel wasn't brought into this job and being paid what he is for coming up short. He was brought in, by the way, I think the 1970 game was not at Azteca. It was another venue in Mexico, but that's not an opponent. I think 86 was at Azteca. Yeah, thank you. But Thomas Tuchel was brought in to change the attitude, get a faster, fitter, more athletic side. The team I saw tonight, I looked like a side that he would have enjoyed. And Tom Tuchel's managed all over the world. This is a guy who's managed Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea. This guy who's won the Champions League, been in the Champions League final. He's managed big clubs. He's managed big players. You could argue tonight was the biggest managerial win of his career, which is crazy for me to say. The biggest managerial win of his career. And the way England went, I don't care how they played the last 20 minutes, every team would have done the same with 10 men. Held the U.S. basically, not necessarily defend, but we played pretty much the same way against Bosnia and Herzegovina and didn't give up a goal. And for England to play 40-something minutes with 10 men is something we haven't seen. And frankly, hasn't gone well when England's played with 10 men at the World Cup. I think in this game we saw a different a team that gave 110%. There are England players right now who probably couldn't play another half hour. They gave every ounce of blood, sweat, tears, and guts. And Mexico's going to look back at those couple opportunities early in the first half, a couple moments where Pickford makes unbelievable save. But I think the biggest moment will be the foul on Gordon. Anthony Gordon was fantastic tonight. He's going to Barcelona. But in this game, I don't think I've seen Anthony Gordon play better. I mean, he didn't necessarily score, and that's saying something from scoring 4 goals in Europe this year, but Gordon was everywhere. He's got so much pace, and I don't think Mexico knew what Anthony Gordon would provide speed-wise. And his pace was on full display tonight. Not just throwing the penalty, but defending, crossing. So Anthony Gordon's fantastic. Jude Bellingham was everywhere. Declan Rice is everywhere. Stones and Brown were big. I think Spence, made some big-time clearances. But Jordan Pickford may have been the line who roared the loudest tonight, making unbelievable saves, showing leadership. Jordan Pickford's not the biggest goalie. There are questions whether or not he should be England's 2 number 1. But, despite giving up the 2 goals, I think Pickford kept his team in the game, making unbelievable saves first half, second half, clearances, catching the ball. I think Jordan Pickford played one of the best games of his career. And despite the altitude, I think England showed more than enough athleticism, toughness, and guts to win. When for Mexico, I think they're going to be disappointed giving up those 2 goals late in the first half and the goal stopped them. Frankly, I don't think Mexico created enough with England having 10 men and knowing England would defend. I don't think Mexico tried going 2v1. They tried getting the ball, where England would be at it from. And maybe, the pressure got to Mexico. I don't know. We've seen teams struggle sometimes against 10 men. And teams that are disciplined, that don't give up gaps. And England were very disciplined. Didn't give up gaps. Really forced Mexico in the crossing. And guess who won all those crosses? Every England's defender. Okay. What does this mean for Harry Kane? What does this win mean for Harry Kane's career? Well, it means another World Cup goal. Another moment to show his leadership and show his class. Not just the goal, but that assist to Jude Bellingham was unbelievable. But Lionel Messi would have been proud of that goal. But, what about VAR? I mean, there have been too many VAR questions the last few days with a Flo Balogun now being able to play. They have VAR penalties in the England-Norway game. Looking on it, I think Kwanzaa should have been sent off. I mean, it was a bad tackle. I mean, I don't think the England players, when they saw it, would complain. I think that's probably a red card. I think the Kane tackles the penalty, and I think from how Luka Modric fouled England in the first game, I think that's probably a penalty. But England fans would certainly say, well, that wouldn't have been a penalty if it's... Who knows? If that's the other way around, would that have been a penalty in Wembley? Or would that have been a penalty in the Nou Camp, Bernabeu, Rome, or wherever? It's probably a penalty. But, honestly, it didn't look like the altitude played quite as much of a factor as I thought it would. Honestly, maybe England defending and the game not being so stretched helped, because England knew what would happen the last. All this madness. The game was delayed an hour because of the severe weather, and it ended past 11 p.m. on the East Coast, well, in Southwest Florida, past 9 o'clock in Mexico City, and past 4 a.m. in the UK. If any English fan, if any English fan went to bed before, during, or during this game, shame on you. Because this was England's biggest World Cup game in 60 years, and you could argue England performed admirably under the consideration, under the fact that, rally quest, Mexico fans were cheering in front of England's hotel last night. You know what England can say? We'll play on the moon, we'll play at Azteca, we'll play at Wembley, we'll play in Miami, because I think England's better. And questions are going to be asked about Mexico, because if you look at Mexico, the first 4 games, they didn't play England, they didn't play France, they didn't play a top team. I mean, Mexico hadn't allowed to go. But of course, nobody had Harry Kane, nobody had Jude Bellingham. And I thought Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham would be able to control the game and hurt Mexico's midfield. Now, I knew what was going to happen. Unfortunately, Kwanzaa getting the red card probably changed everything, but who knows? What do you think about England against Norway? That's going to be interesting. I'm sure Erling Haaland is looking at shelves facing a lot of his Manchester City center backs, thinking, Mark Gahey, John Stones, Erling Haaland, let's go, boys. And by the way, Norway got a pretty impressive 2-1 win over Brazil tonight. But could England bring World Cup home? Well, I don't know if there'd be a tougher game than this. Going to Azteca and winning. Maybe playing Argentina in the semifinal. Hell, maybe playing France in the final. But, if England could pass this toughest test with flying colors, we'll see. Now, England's got a few issues. Obviously, Kwanzaa's red card, so he's gone for the next game. Who knows if Reece James will be able to play. England's next game is against Norway, is in Miami on Saturday night. So England will have a little bit of rest, but how many guys, picked up yellow cards? So now England could have 4 or 5 players miss the semifinal. Is Reece James able to play? Will Kwanzaa end up playing right back? Will Spence end up playing right back or left back? Who knows? But I think England showed a different ability to win, and Thomas Tuchel showed why he was brought in. If that Gareth Southgate managing England, that team would not win. Not win at all. Well, no way. No way a Gareth Southgate team would go in their Azteca, down a man for 45 minutes and win. No way. And frankly, a little tidbit about the Brazil-Norway game. Even though Norway won, I think Brazil missed several goal opportunities. Not just penalty. I'm not sure why Vinny Jr. didn't take the penalty, but in many ways, I think Jorge Ancelotti's hands were tied, not just with the Rafinha injury, but losing Rodrigo, a couple other guys. He brought on Neymar, which into the squad. Neymar hadn't played for Brazil in 3 years, never looked up to pace, never looked in shape. You wanted to draw Pedro would have made Brazil better. And, while everybody looks at Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, star players, guess what? Erling Haaland said, I'm going to roll my team in the semifinal with 2 absolutely clinical strikes. That second strike, wow. Alisson had no chance, didn't have a prayer to stop it. And Alisson may be the best goalie in the world when he's on point. So Norway deservedly in the quarterfinal. And now, can Norway go from being the 5-time world champs to being England? Will football be playing? Will England make another World Cup semifinal? Or will Norway continue maybe not a shock, but definitely a surprise run at this World Cup? You know what? I hear the Vikings like football. I just thought it'd be the Minnesota Vikings, not England, not Norway's Vikings at this World Cup. But just crazy what's happened. You know, England getting a memorable win with 10 men at Azteca. By the way, the last time Mexico allowed 4 goals in a game, 3 or more goals at Azteca, 1999 Confederation Cup final against Brazil. Ended up winning that game 4-3, but still rather nuts what happened in that game. I think there was a player sent off. Yeah, a player sent off. Just crazy. I mean, but you know, as Savage Sports, England will lose versus Norway. Well, you know, I don't know. I mean, Norway might have been thinking, you know what, we have a chance against England on Saturday night, but it's just approaching midnight here in Florida. It's just approaching 5 a.m. in England. Thinking the pubs might be a little busy this morning in the UK. I want to see Holland against England because that's going to be a matchup to watch, and it's just down the road from me. Maybe can one of my friends give me tickets to the England-Norway game? I would greatly appreciate it because there might be a few stalls at Hard Rock Stadium this Saturday night. Plus, I know that stadium well. At least I'll be. Okay, so thanks for hopping into the stream. Talking, by the way, U.S. Belgium, Spain Portugal tomorrow. So it could be a crazy Monday. Spain Portugal starting off from Arlington and Belgium U.S. tomorrow 8 o'clock from Seattle. There's 100% a few walkouts in England today. And Mexico too. Let's go U.S. I like what you're thinking as Surge Sports. So tuning in, Dylan's History Sports, Big D Podcast, Funky Spectrum Sports, Driving to Talk Productions. We greatly appreciate you. Not a bad way to, I guess you would say, start off my birthday week with this late stream on a Sunday night. But this is Dylan signing off for now.